The Charge of the Light Brigade is a ballad. Now, the ballad is a historic form of poetry which often used to be sung. It's a poem which tells a story and contains a refrain. A refrain is like the chorus of a song, a line which is repeated regularly throughout the poem to help it to be remembered. In the Charge of the Light Brigade, the refrain is the use of 600 at the end of each stanza. Ballads are associated with important tales or histories, things we should never forget, and the ballad form therefore suggests there's an element of folklore to the events being told, and that of course can be seen as the awe-inspiring act of bravery from the soldiers which should be passed on to future generations, never to be forgotten. However, it's equally valid to say that Tennyson wanted the public not just to never forget the bravery of the soldiers, but also to never forget the blunder of the aristocratic leadership that led to so much avoidable suffering. It can be read as both a tale of praise to be proud of and a cautionary tale to learn from, and the ballad form reflects how both lessons must be remembered. One of the most impressive things in the Charge of the Light Brigade is its use of dactylic dimeter. Take a look at these lines from stanza 2. Forward the Light Brigade, was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. When we discuss metre, we're looking at which syllables in a line are stressed, which ones are emphasised more than the others, and as you can see, the syllables in bold are the ones we stress. So the stressed syllables come at the start and middle of each line, and they're followed by mostly 2 syllables which are unstressed. Now, once we've worked out the stress, we can look at something called the feat. A dactyl is made up of 1 stressed syllable followed by 2 unstressed syllables, and if we break the poem up with the forward slashes here, we can see that each line is made up of 2 dactylic feet. When there are 2 feet per line, we call that dimeter, so the poem is written in mostly dactylic dimeter. Of course, the big question is why? It's never enough to just identify poetic devices, we always want to link them to meaning. Now, in a positive interpretation of the poem, the use of dactylic dimeter can be seen as reinforcing the relentless determination and discipline of the soldiers. The regular rhythmic pattern of dum-diddy mirrors not just the physical act of galloping, but also the soldiers' steady determination as they charge into near certain death. The steady, unwavering rhythm could be interpreted as a symbol of their courage. But one line in stanza 2 does not conform to dactylic dimeter, and that is the line, someone had blundered. The word blundered does not fit into this meter as there's only 1 syllable after the first blun. Now, Tennyson is making a point here. He wants to emphasize the word blunder. He wants to emphasize this word, this line, by which he's pointing out the leadership error which led to this futile mission taking place. The word blunder means stupid or careless mistake, and by deliberately breaking the rules of his chosen poetic structure, Tennyson is subtly drawing the reader's attention to his disgust at the cause of the fatalities. Now, he had to do it subtly, as dictated by his role as poet laureate, but it is there, and this break in metre then reflects the tension between the soldiers' unquestionable bravery and the underlying pointlessness of the mission they were sent on. A very clever idea about repetition in the Charge of the Light Brigade comes from Matthew Bevis, who, in the Oxford Handbook of British and Irish War Poetry, highlights how many words in the poem contain the erd sound in them, through the use of thundered, shattered, sundered, blundered, wondered. Now why? Well, Bevis argues this repetition of erd is used because of its phonetic similarity to the words and erd, i.e. to make an error, to make a mistake. And again, this would be a subtle but noticeable criticism from Tennyson. Within the final word of the line, all the world wondered, we see a perfect example of how both the positive and negative analysis of the poem can be arrived at, as it, and this is a quote from Matthew Bevis, it also carries within it the sound of the poem's pride for the men alongside its awareness of the pointlessness of their death. We've got the word one and the word erd. In Exposure, Wilfred Owen wants readers to understand the intensity of waiting during battle and the anticlimactic letdown that comes when nothing happens. Soldiers lived on adrenaline for long periods of time, resulting in shell shock. And it's not just that nothing happens, it's that the soldiers are on full alert with heightened senses, knowing that something could happen at any moment. To help the reader empathise with this experience, Owen structures each stanza in the same way. Each stanza begins with a blunt and powerful sentence, such as "our brains ache in the merciless iced east winds that knife us," and these opening sentences are then followed by highly emotive vocabulary choices: wearied, low drooping, confused, worried, curious, nervous. But crucially, after dramatically heightening all of this tension, each stanza ends with an anticlimax, but nothing happens, and this three-part structure is found in each stanza. Owen wants his reader to empathise with how the soldiers felt. Everything is tense and seemingly building to a climax, only to end up with nothing happening. And this repetition throughout the poem reflects the emotional roller coaster the soldiers were going through on a daily basis, exhausting the troops. Owen uses personification to highlight how weather is more dangerous than less deadly bullets. There are numerous examples of this. In Dawn massing in the east her melancholy army, Dawn is personified as a military leader, organising an army of cold weather, and this comparison backs up the idea that nature itself is in a battle against the soldiers. Dawn refers to the time of day when the first light appears in the sky before the sun rises, and is usually a positive symbol of renewal, but is here described as poignant misery. This reversal of the usual symbolism reflects the soldiers' despair. Each new day does not bring relief but continued suffering. Each day the soldiers' suffering worsens rather than improves, emphasising the repetitive, cyclical side to their situation. In the penultimate stanza of Exposure, the speaker reveals the reason why it is worth suffering in war. "Since we believe not otherwise can kind fires burn." Here we see an image of home, the domestic sphere of kind fires. In other words, it is worth fighting in the war to protect those at home. Owen's use of fire and sun imagery contrasts the previous imagery of cold, and this juxtaposition highlights the extreme sacrifice the soldiers are making. They endure the terrible suffering so their loved ones can continue to enjoy the security of home.